Hey, good morning, everybody. Welcome back. Today is Tuesday, September 2nd, 2025. We are almost to the fourth quarter, coming up to the home stretch of the third quarter. Man, I say it all the time, but I can't believe time flies when you're having fun. So, anyway, good morning, y'all. Great to have you here for your daily mortgage rate update. The only place on the web that I know of where it's absolutely free to get together, talk about what's going on with mortgage rates and pricing each and every weekday morning, get to the know, right? Not only figure out what's going on, but why. So we do that each and every weekday morning. Remember, you can join me. If you're busy one morning, don't worry, though. You can always watch us on a replay. If you do watch the replay, do me a favor. Just give me hashtag replay in the comments. Let me know that you were here. It kind of helps me to figure out the real viewers versus all of the vanity metrics where I could say, my video was watched thousands of times. I don't think it was really watched thousands of times. But if we only get like 7 hashtag replays, I don't think it was only watched 7 times either. It means you're being lazy. And you come on, hashtag replay. It's not hard. Just do it. Anyway, if you're here this morning, say good morning. No, I'm only helping Temu, Sean. Sean Segaloff said, is this really you or Temu Hammer? We'll talk about that in a little bit. But however, don't forget, today, we are going to be talking about how the tariffs lost on appeal. I think this is an again because they've lost already, but they're still in place. So we'll talk a little bit about that. It is important. I do think it did affect some of what happened this morning. So we'll kind of go into that. The White House may declare a national housing emergency. Let's go deeper on that. We're going to talk about that a little bit today. They may do that this fall. And I want to introduce you to Bill Wiatrowski. Bill Wiatrowski. Good Polish boy, it sounds like, right? The guy that controls the fates of your rates. The fate of your rate. How many of you know who Bill Wiatrowski is without Googling? Without Googling, let me know in the comments. Give me a thumbs up, thumbs down. Give me 1 if you know who he is. 2 if you don't. We'll make it easy. How many of you know who Bill Wiatrowski is? So that's what we'll be going over this morning. Let's go ahead and quick say hi to all the live folks here. I love to, just recognize those of you that join. So many of you watch each and every day. I appreciate y'all. Remember, spread the love, tag an originator friend, or share this out there for sure, for shizzle. First one to say hello this morning was Tim Kyla from out in Michigan. Good morning, sir. Hope you are doing well, my friend. We got Randy Tinkle here. Giddy up, sir. Allison Foy, good morning. Megan Bissell, Mike Brown, glad to have you all here. Mallory Fotiadis, living the beach life I see out there on the Book of Faces. Very fun. Rob Stewart, good to see you. Sean Segaloff asking if I was the Temu Hammer because I got a text message about my career change. If you don't know what I'm talking about, look at my personal Facebook feed, my Facebook profile, and you'll see. I'm considering a career change, and I want your feedback. We got Deb Dickinson on this morning. Robin Davis. Robin, I don't know that I've seen you on before. Is this your first time? Thank you for joining. Julie Lawrence, Brendy Brickler, Matt Rasner, Candido Diaz, Robert O'Connor, Kelly Hamilton. Kelly, I haven't seen you either. Mike Morano, great to have you here. Happy Temu Tuesday, huh? Temu wouldn't be too happy because, man, they are going to go down with that change in tariffs that we've seen. So National VJ Day, victory over Japan. Yep. Leroy Romero, good morning. Angela Walters, Amir Krivdik, Kelly Cargill, good morning. Bill Stevens. All right. So a lot of you, there's a lot of twos. Nobody knows who Bill Wiatrowski is, and I'm going to tell you why he's important. So, well, let's get into it so we can do that. Let me go ahead and pull up my captions, and we'll get to the good stuff here. So, first of all, before I do that, remember you can join me live each and every weekday morning at 9:30 a.m. Eastern Time. If you want a reminder for that, just go to hmmr.io/reminder or use this cool QR code. Put in your cell phone number. I sell it. You will get lots of junk spam after that. You will probably get calls from Temu, but do it anyway. No, I don't sell your information. You definitely do want to get a quick text message reminder that I'm going live each day. So, all right, quick recap. What happened on Friday? Friday was boring. I'm going to switch over to the charts and we'll show you what we got going on over there. And let's see. So take a look down here. Let me bring up Presentify. There we go. All right. Let's go ahead and click this. So I'm down here in the corner right now. And what we were looking at is everything in front of this little dotted line here. Everything on this side of it is all of Friday. Okay. So on Friday, pricing came out right around 10 a.m., right around here. And we are, like right about here, just slightly better on the day. Not enough to see any reprices better. There was really nothing happening there. It was a very small movement, actually. So it was a calm day. It was also the last hurrah of the summer on Friday. That's important because you get low trading volume. Most of the traders, we got the PCE data in the morning, and even that I told you wasn't going to be a big deal, and it wasn't. As you can see when we look over here at the chart, let me slide this over so y'all. I have to refresh this because it doesn't want to slide to the left. There you go. No, not you. There you are. Let me bring this up a little bit so we can. There you are. So taking a look here, when the PCE data came out, there was really no move. It didn't matter. Came out at 8:30, which is basically right here. There was no change to that. So, and we didn't see anything that really led to that led us to believe what we would see this morning. Big drop in overnight trading, and then we saw a dip, and it's kind of recovered, but we're still down on the day quite a bit. Mortgage-backed securities currently down 16 basis points on the day. That means rate sheets going to lose most of last week's gains. It was a little bit worse when they were down here when I first started writing this. That put us in a position to lose all of last week's gains because last Friday we ended at 100.36. We're a hair better than that right now. If we take a look at Mortgage News Daily and use that as a reference point, bring this over here, pull this over here. Last Friday was the 22nd. So you were looking at 6.52. The 21st was worse with 6.62. But that was the 22nd we had the big jump up. So, but on Monday it was the 25th. And if we take a look at rates on the 25th, you were at 6.54. So we crept a little bit lower last week, just day by day, tiny improvements. But it was a few days of improvements, but now you're probably going to wash that out. You're probably going to be back around 6.52, 6.54. It's really not as bad as it sounds. Reprice risk on the day is low. You can take a look here and see we started out losing a lot of ground. It's kind of rebounded, and it's not likely that we'll see big losses from here. Not today. Things will settle in. 10-year Treasury yield, though, is up quite a bit, 4.27. That's important to note because last week we were at 4.21, then 4.23, and you could see that after going down. Remember, yields down brings a smile to our face for yields for the 10-year Treasury. It's different than mortgage bonds. When we look at mortgage bonds, we want mortgage bonds to go up because this is the price that they're selling at. When you look at that, this is the yield. And the yield is the inverse of the price. So we want this to go down, and we kind of worked our way down, and then boom, we're right back up this morning. So not up to the high levels that we were at the, kind of the middle of August, but certainly well off of the low levels that we saw here for bonds. So we're not likely to see any big moves today, but, kind of there. As far as the Trump Fed virus goes, let's get into the headlines. Let's talk about some of the headlines and get into some of that stuff. We did look at the technicals, so now we will look at some of the headlines. There's really not anything new as far as that Trump virus goes. He's still firing Lisa Cook. She's still fighting back. One thing to note for anybody that's defending her, and there's really not many people, the only people that defend Lisa Cook are the ones that really hate Trump. That's the reality. They're doing it emotionally because they hate Trump, and anything that Trump does, they hate. Yes, we know that Trump is manipulating this whole thing so that he can take over the Fed and try to force Fed rate cuts. I am going to tomorrow. I'm going to go a bit deeper on the Fed takeover and what happened the last time that a president, and it was Nixon as a spoiler, had sway over the Fed. All right. So I did a little research on this, and I got some stuff to share with you. We'll share that tomorrow. So make sure you join me tomorrow. We're going to kind of go into that a little bit more. But otherwise, the Senate Banking Committee will hold their hearing on September 4th, this week on Thursday, to decide the fate of nominee Stephen Moran, who was nominated to take over for Kugler. Is it Kugler? Moran taking over. This will say who it was for. Kugler. Yeah, Adriana Kugler. So he'll be taking over her spot, and that will set him up. So if he does get confirmed, and I don't think we'll see a lot of drama around his confirmation like we will on the BLS, which we're going to talk about in a minute. But right now, markets are pricing in a 90% expectation of a Fed rate cut. Remember, that had dipped quite a bit, but still basically a given at this point that we'll see a Fed rate cut on September, and Moran may be able to vote on that as well and be a part of that. Now, the deputy director of the BLS, Mike Milano, said, what's up with the deputy director of BLS? And I had asked y'all at the beginning if you knew who Bill Wiatrowski is. Bill Wiatrowski. So let's talk a little bit about Bill Wiatrowski. Bill Wiatrowski, I've got so many of these different things up here. Let me see what we got going on. All right. William Wiatrowski is the acting commissioner. He is the full-time deputy commissioner and has been the deputy commissioner of the Bureau of Labor Statistics since 2015. What this tells me is that Bill's a survivor. He's made it through a few different presidents, including Trump's first reign of terror. No, it really wasn't. I didn't think it was, but just figured it'd be fun to say. But he did make it through Trump's first presidential run and his first term. And so, he's not a known Trump supporter like Antony, which let me see if I have that. So E.J. Antony is the conservative economist nominated by Trump to lead the Bureau of Labor Statistics. There's no date that I can find, though, for his confirmation hearing. He needs a Senate confirmation hearing. I have not seen a date on that. If anyone has a date on that, let me know in the comments. But according to Google and Google AI, there is not yet a date for when he will be in front of the Senate for confirmation. His is going to be a lot harder. So we'll come back to that. But if we take a look at Bill Wiatrowski, he is the acting BLS commissioner now. Now, I wrote this in my lock advice this morning. Of course, this data is impeachable and, cannot be argued, but let's be realistic. There's so much of this that gets played. Trump did not like the fact that the labor market was weakening, and he blamed the last head who was replaced. I don't remember her name because I don't remember her name, right? But we could look it up. You can Google it. But anyway, so the question is, does a lifer, does a survivor like Bill Wiatrowski and the people that work for him, do they dig a little deeper into the data? Now, again, I'm not saying that they are manipulating the data, but do they interpret the data, or I don't know. To me, statistics and data, I find this stuff all highly suspect. I think many of you do, right? I think all of us do. But I have a concern that Friday's jobs data, this Friday, our BLS jobs data, is going to show an amazing rebound and revision, and it's going to be so much stronger. It's going to be the strongest you've ever seen. No, I don't think it'll be the strongest you've ever seen, but I do think it's going to be stronger. In theory, I think that it should be showing. Oh man, how did I do that? There it is. I think it should be showing more weakness, but I don't think it will. I personally don't think it will. And let's take a look at just, again, we have time. Today's Tuesday, so we've got time to talk about Friday's jobs report. But in a nutshell, if the jobs report comes in weak, that opens the door for not a September Fed rate cut, because that's already a given, but it opens the door for 3 rate cuts through the year instead of 2. Right now, market's currently pricing in a majority of 2 rate cuts. That would bring us from 4.25, 2 quarter point cuts down to 3.75. Okay. There's a little bit of belief that we might not see a second cut, but almost everybody is betting on a second cut right now. Ron, I know you say that, dude, but come on. You work at companies, man. You work at companies. They don't handle the data. I'm not saying he's going to go into the computer and change it. This isn't some kind of like, I don't know, Metro Goldwyn Mayer movie. But what I am saying is that maybe, this is a person, he's got friends in there. He's been there for forever. The people that are doing that, maybe this data gets seen. Again, I could be totally wrong, and maybe it'll come in really weak. But if Trump wants strong data, maybe Trump gets strong data. It wouldn't be. It's not unheard of. So. But you're right. And as far as the methodology and data collection, I have been reached out by the BLS. They did not use a fax for me. They actually just reached out in person. Nathan, I've seen a huge uptick in people looking for work in a bunch of the local neighborhood Facebook groups. Absolutely. And you're seeing a lot of it on, all social medias. There's definitely, less jobs. There's less layoffs right now, and arguably you've got, we don't discern what kind of jobs either. Like, so if we've got ICE, immigration, removing large quantities of the workforce. Well, now there's more jobs, so if you're in the trades and if you're in landscaping and gardening, and if you're in farming, and certain jobs that have been dominated by immigrants are now going to have job openings. So we'll see how this goes. Plus, I am not above thinking the data gets strongly manipulated. I'm sorry, interpreted. Would never be manipulated, but only interpretive. But we will see. Now, again, Bill W. here is only the acting commissioner, and it'll be Antoni who comes in next, and we'll see. We'll see if there's any updates to all this. And yeah, let's go into this a little bit. So Ron Siegel said, Randy, I don't think Trump is interested in the mortgage rate. The Fed funds rate will affect the Fed borrowing rates, which affects the deficit, which is what Trump is concerned about. That rolls us into the next one. So I agree with Ron. As much as the government gives lip service to the here you go. So as much as the government gives lip service to housing, I don't think they really care. And as much as Pulte, you guys know, I have no respect for FHFA Director Bill Pulte. I think he's an imbecile. I think the guy, I think he's a douche. So, he may be smart enough to manipulate the things and play in the meme stocks and make a lot of money. I won't fault that. I won't say he's not, but I think overall for the FHFA, I think he's poorly prepared for that position. I don't think he does a good job. If they wanted to lower costs, they would look at reducing guarantee fees, things that Fannie and Freddie can directly control, which, like those fuel surcharges, were only supposed to be temporary, but you don't see any changes to that, right? So I mean, that's it. But now there's talk of Trump of Trump possibly declaring national housing emergency. And this comes from a guy that I do respect, which is Bessent, right? Secretary Treasurer Bessent, Treasury Secretary Bessent. If they do, the housing affordability would be a critical leg of Republicans' 2026 midterm election platform. You know what this tells me? All bark and no bite, all bluster. And the whole thing with the emergency, this falls us into the whole tariff thing, right? The reason that Trump is able to implement tariffs is because he says that it is an emergency. Emergencies give powers that normally are not held. Remember that Governor Newsom, Gavin Newsom, maintained the state of emergency in Florida until when was it? Like 2024? When Gavin Newsom lift emergency COVID. He stated it, 2023. Fine, again, 3 years later. 3 years later, they lifted it. Why? Because it gave the governors tremendous powers that they didn't have when they had a state of emergency. So, again, we're jumping topics, but these are all related, by the way. So when it comes to the tariff stuff is in May, the Court of International Trade ruled Trump declared emergencies went beyond the meaning of International Emergency Economic Powers Act, the IEEPA. And that was then appealed, and the federal court, where is it? Here you go. So Friday's appeals court decision wasn't a total victory, but it sent the case back to the Court of International Trade for further examination. The next stop will be the SCOTUS, though. It'll go to the Supreme Court for this. So we will see, where it's there. Now, there's some talk about kind of how this will play out to everything. Gold is at an all-time high, right, as the ultimate safe haven. Notice bonds did not improve on safe haven bids, but gold did. So keep that in mind on kind of how all this stuff plays out. And then bouncing around. So we looked at the tariffs. The tariffs are still in place, even though it was ruled that Trump overacted. When it comes down to this idea of what they could do for, if they did a national housing emergency, the only benefit comes down to here, and I'm kind of against this, and I want to know how you guys feel about this, right? The administration is studying ways to standardize local building and zoning codes. I don't think it should be standardized. I think building and zoning should be done on a local level. Do I think that California is a train wreck when it comes to this? Yes. Good intentions gone wrong, but in all over the place. My Smoky Mountains are not the same as your Idaho mountains or the Arizona mountains or the Arizona deserts or the California mountains, right? This should be done on a local level, local building and zoning. Now, does it need work and is it not perfect? Absolutely. Would this fix housing? Not for a long, long time. You know what this would do? It would make builders a lot of money. It would make builders a lot of money. It would arguably increase employment and different things like that. I don't know that it would bring down costs significantly, though. I really don't. I don't think that in order to have much more supply than demand, I mean, we'd have to have millions of houses. And the ones that are thrown up today, my experience, my view of them, most of them are crap anyway. I see, and that's the thing, Sean, right? So Sean said CNBC was talking if the tariffs do go to the Supreme Court and lose, and not just would end, but the U.S. might be required to pay them back. Who's going to do that? Who's going to enforce it? How? Right? A lot of this stuff is like how. And if they were paid back, they're going to get paid back to that could be huge. But if they were paid back, does that mean that the companies would then that paid these tariffs but have raised prices are going to send checks to consumers? No, of course not, right? So this is a whole train wreck on all that stuff anyway. Ron Siegel said Newsom wants to, where'd you come up with? I don't like standardized codes, but California is off the rails. I do agree with that, dude. I do absolutely agree with that. Newsom wants to do to America what he's done to California. Yeah, I know. And hopefully we don't even get that one. Mike Morano, if the governor doesn't want to get involved in housing, why did HUD Secretary Scott Turner pitch proposed limits of 2 years? Does Smoky Mountains need the California earthquake standards? Does California need Florida's hurricane? Exactly, right? Exactly. No, this is just to force more building. And in my opinion, that's about money. It's about money. And I think that there's money that changes hands and things and support. So this will be talking points, but I don't think it would do anything. And again, right, like it says here, Trump's relentless attacks on the Fed this year, he's argued high interest rates have added to the government's financing costs and damaged the housing market. No, you want to know what damaged the housing market? We are paying for low rates. We are paying for the reaction to COVID shutting down the country. I don't want to get into whether it was required or all the other stuff, but that's what we're paying for. We're paying for the fact that home prices doubled in the course of a couple of years. Instead of going up 4 to 8%, they doubled. That's a huge jump. I had this conversation with a TikToker the other day. I probably shouldn't have put that much time into it, right? But let me bring up my photos and show you something real quick. I don't have anything inappropriate that I can't share anyway. So let me go ahead and show you this. This was 3 different examples. So here we go. Was a $450,000. She said her average home price was $450,000. No property taxes, homeowners insurance, because that would remain the same no matter what, right? Principal and interest and PMI payment, because it's a 5% down payment. $2,930. $2,930 is what a 6.75% rate, 5% down, $450,000 house. $2,930. We go back one. What if we were to drop that by a point? A full point, 5.75. We go from $2,930 to $2,650. It's $180, right? It's about $180 right there. The PMI they have basically is the same because it's the amount, the 5%. The price doesn't change there. Now, what if the home price was $375? And if I say that a house that was $375 went to $450 in value, I'm not even going doubled, right? But there's easily you can't argue $75,000. Just that difference at 6.75, you go to 2442 from 2930 to 2442. You're almost $500, $480, $498, right? No, $88, $488 difference in payment right there. It's the price of homes. It's inarguable. Even with the higher interest rate. So even if you go to the lower interest rate here, you're at 2652 to 2442. 2652. That's $210 cheaper for that price. That's what costs more. So it's not mortgage rates that are the problem. It's home prices and wages. People don't make enough money to be able to afford what's going on. It's the haves and the have-nots. I used to argue that it was simple math. If we saw wages go up, that it would lead to inflation. That's still the case, but I still think it's necessary. I think that more positions need to be paid more money, but it becomes like the unsolvable problem. So anyway, that's it, y'all. We're coming up to the half an hour. Appreciate you joining me. Hopefully we have hit on all those things that we talked about. Today, I said we were going to talk about tariffs losing on appeal, but they're still in place. Check that one off. We talked about how the White House may declare a national housing emergency, which is all about midterm elections and sound bites, and would not do anything to help the mortgage business or the consumer, in my opinion. And Bill Wietrowski is the guy that controls the failure rate over there in the BLS. As Ron Siegel pointed out, he's not the one with the pencil. He's not licking it and changing the numbers. But I think depending on, guys, come on. These are people that have government jobs that are afraid. And, we have a vindictive, petty president. Say what you want. I mean, I know I sound like I'm coming off negative on Trump all the time lately, and that's because I kind of feel negative about a lot of his activities, but I still think there's a lot of good things. I'm not anti-Trump. I voted for the guy, but I don't necessarily love all the things that he's done this term. But as we go through this, remember tomorrow, we're going to go deeper on the Fed takeover. Why that's so important, why it's important that the Fed remain independent, what happened the last time a president, and it was Nixon, had sway over the Fed. So we're going to talk about that. I'll go a little bit deeper on that tomorrow. Make sure that you join me. Also, don't forget to go check out Originator Success. You need, the key to all this stuff, getting more business. And getting business today means that you have to be found online. That means Google search. That means AI search. We have made amazing strides on AI search. It's an ever-changing environment. Nobody can promise you consistent, amazing results all the time, but we are starting to see a lot more of the patterns. You don't have time to do all this stuff. A few $100s a month can bring you tens of thousands of dollars a year. Go check out originatorssuccess.com. Build your brand, your reputation. We also send out content, weekly rate forecast goes out automatically. Agent power tips goes out. It's basically the be found, be chosen, be remembered. The tools it takes for an originator to get deals, and it's turnkey. There's very, very little that you have to do because you're busy. You're busy, and we do all of the work. We provide you with a website. Why do we give you a website? Because it helps with local search and being found. It also helps with conversion and better conversion. We just rolled out our new websites. Really, they're rolling out to all of our members. We have hundreds and hundreds of members, so we've tested them. We've rolled them out. We've done our beta testing. Now we're rolling them out to everybody. Guys, it's about getting business, and you got to write small checks to cash big checks. Carl White says that. I agree with it. And so check it out, originatorssuccess.com, my friends. Hope you all have a fantastic day. I will see you tomorrow. Take care and bye-bye.